I boil leadership down to 3 or 4 things. We'll decide how many come out of my mouth in a second. But the first one is a leader should be building a future or fixing a problem. So which are you doing? Are you doing one or the other? Are you building a future or fixing a problem?
Okay.
Right? So we can go back to each of them. Building a future, fixing the problem. Second thing is the leader has to be the beacon of the energy. So the Andre Agassi quote of you're the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature, you don't take it.
Okay.
So the leaders should be the one emitting the vibe rather than waiting for their team to come in. So a leader comes in pissing and moaning and demotivating everybody. It's natural then that the workplace is going to be relatively toxic because the leader is pissing and moaning and negative. So you're building the future, you're fixing a problem. You're the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature, you don't take it. And then that other thing is people are watching you. You're being watched as a leader in a different way than you are as a colleague. So if, for example, you're spouting things around your values of being inclusive and fair, and you're very evidently not being inclusive and fair, well, people see that. And that loses an element of trust and connection to the leader. And I think if you work through those 3 things, and there's a ton of stuff that goes underneath each of those 3 things, but that idea of, do I have a handle on what our organization's strategy is? That could be the future you're building. Or are we addressing a problem that needs fixing? Which are we doing? But we should be doing one or both. But being able to articulate that to your people is hugely important. Then the thing on, how do I turn up every day? Am I enthusiastic? Am I setting the vibe? Am I giving people a kind of a sense of direction and energy? That's tiring for a leader, but you need to be doing it. And then that third piece on, okay, you're being watched. So are you living to your values, which a lot of leaders spend a lot of time reflecting upon, and they like to put down their words like, I'm fair. Big word. Big word. I'm fair. It's really, it's 4 letters, but fairness is, okay, you're fair. Am I inclusive? Okay. But if you say these things and you try and be, you say you are these things, but you don't behave by them, people see that. Or if you're encouraging people to work hard and it's evidently clear that you're not putting it in, that creates an issue. So I think for leaders, if you jump to that aspect, you can read all of the books you like, but if you're not tipping off those 3 things, you're going to be struggling.
I would say in my experience, that final point there you made about fairness and actions, are they aligned with your words, is probably the most powerful one for most people. If I've ever had to, I suppose, defer to somebody or follow somebody or be led by somebody, it's I thinking about it now, probably 100% of the time would make my decision based on whether this is a good leader, based on what they do, not what they say. Because everybody can say everything, especially nowadays. You can quote lines from books and podcasts and tweets and all sorts of stuff. But what you do is there's this concept I heard earlier on, that this alien's eye view. If an alien came down right now and looked at your life with no context for what human beings are, what they do, or who they say, or what they read, or religion, or anything like that, if they just watched you for 24 hours, would they know what your values are? They don't understand your language, don't understand anything. Would they know what you value by how you live your life, how you interact with other people, where you spend your time, what your mood is, how you generally conduct yourself? And I like that idea because it's like it's very exposing. So if I adopt that approach to my own life, I can see areas in my own life from the alien's point of view where I'm not actually living in line with the things that I say I value. I value this thing, but actually I'm over here doing this thing. In my experience, it's probably the most powerful communication from any leader, and it's non-verbal, which is really interesting.
It's non-verbal, you're right. But it is behavioural, which could be verbal in some situations, but it's that entire piece on the observation of yourself. But you see, it's not just the alien who'll be watching it. Your people observe those things. And then you are inauthentic, or you may be authentic. You could, that just is you, but it is worth remembering you're being watched. And if, for example, you're trying to inspire, motivate, cajole, influence, whatever word you want to put on it, having an understanding that as a leader you're held to a different standard is important.